Have you ever noticed how uncomfortable people get around someone who doesn't need them? Not rude, not cold, asterisk, just independent? Someone who doesn't beg for attention? Doesn't chase approval? Doesn't panic when they're alone? Here's the uncomfortable truth most people never say out loud. Asterisk A. Human who doesn't need anyone is not weak. They're dangerous, and not in the way. Movies portray danger. Not violent, not chaotic. Dangerous to systems built on insecurity. Dangerous to relationships based on control. Asterisk, dangerous to a society that quietly survives on emotional dependence. Asterisk, if this topic makes you feel slightly uneasy, stay with me, because there's a reason this idea touches something deep inside you. From the moment we are born, we are taught one silent rule. You survive by being needed. As children, love is conditional. Asterisk, be good, be quiet, be useful, be impressive. Asterisk, if you fail, affection withdraws. Your brain learns something powerful and terrifying at the same time. I matter when I'm needed. This belief sinks into your nervous system before you ever question it. So we grow up seeking proof of our worth. Asterisk, through relationships, through careers, through social approval. Most adults aren't chasing love. They're chasing relief from the fear of being irrelevant. Now here's where things get interesting. When someone appears who doesn't need validation, doesn't need constant connection, doesn't need to be liked to feel stable, the brain of others goes into alert mode. Why? Because that person breaks an unspoken psychological contract. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. Asterisk, have you ever felt uneasy around someone who seemed emotionally contained? They didn't overshare. They didn't explain themselves. Asterisk, they didn't chase closeness. Asterisk, and instead of admiring them, you felt suspicious. That reaction is not random. Asterisk, it's your ego protecting itself. The ego doesn't just want confidence. It wants comparison. Asterisk, most people regulate their self-worth by measuring themselves against others. Asterisk, who needs more? Asterisk, who wants more? Asterisk, who fears more? Asterisk, when someone doesn't participate in this emotional economy, they become unpredictable. And the human mind hates unpredictability. Asterisk, here's a psychological truth most people never face. Asterisk, needing others is not the same as loving others. Asterisk, need often comes from fear. Fear of abandonment. Fear of being alone with one's thoughts. Fear of facing unresolved trauma. When you need someone, you unconsciously give them power over your emotional state. That power can look like love, but it's actually dependency. And dependency is easy to control. That's why society rewards it. Think about this. Asterisk, workplaces reward people who depend on validation. Social groups reward people who fear exclusion. Even relationships often survive on mutual insecurity rather than genuine connection. Asterisk, A. Person who doesn't need approval can't be easily manipulated. Asterisk, you can't threaten them with rejection. Asterisk, you can't control them with guilt. Asterisk, you can't silence them with shame. That's why they're seen as a threat. Not because they want power, but because they don't give it away. Now, let's be very clear. Asterisk, not needing anyone does not mean you don't care. Asterisk, it means your identity is not outsourced. Asterisk, psychologically healthy independence comes from integration, not isolation. These people have usually faced something most avoid. Their own mind, their own pain, their own fear of being alone. Asterisk, their own trauma. Without distraction, they didn't escape loneliness. They went through it. Asterisk, and on the other side, something changes. Here's the part that makes people uncomfortable. When you don't need others, you choose them. And choice is far more powerful than attachment. Asterisk, you're not with people because you're afraid to be alone. You're with them because you want to be. That kind of presence is honest. It exposes fake bonds. It reveals who connects out of love and who connects out of fear. Asterisks, and that exposure feels threatening to those who haven't examined themselves. Ask yourself this. If someone walked away from you today, asterisks, would your sense of self collapse? Asterisk, if the answer is yes. That doesn't mean you're weak. It means part of your identity is still externally anchored. Asterisk. And that's not your fault. That's conditioning. We are trained to merge our worth with roles, relationships, and recognition. Asterisk, breaking that pattern doesn't make you heartless. Asterisk, it makes you conscious. Asterisk, here's the final truth. I want you to sit with. Society doesn't fear people who are cruel. It fears people who are free. Free from approval. Free from emotional leverage. Asterisk, free from unconscious dependency. Asterisk, because a person who doesn't need anyone can't be easily controlled. They don't act out of fear. Asterisk, they don't react to provocation. Asterisk, they don't betray themselves for belonging. Asterisk, and that kind of person forces others to face a question they'd rather avoid. Asterisk, am I connected because I choose to be? Asterisk, or because I'm afraid not to be asterisk. If this video made you uncomfortable, that's not a bad sign. It means your mind is touching something real. Asterisk. Something most people spend their lives running from. Asterisk independence isn't about pushing people away, it's about no longer using them to escape yourself. And once you reach that place, you don't become society's enemy, you become its mirror. Asterisks. And mirrors are always threatening, asterisk, to those who refuse to look.